Subscribe now because this story is deeper than designer bags and celebrity drama. It's a full-blown identity crisis dressed in leather and gold hardware, and Cardi B is right in the middle of it, spiraling from the top of the luxury mountain, straight into the valley of viral humiliation. Because what started with whispers about fake Birkins has exploded into one of the most emotional exposés the fashion world has ever seen. And it's not just Cardi catching heat, it's every influencer, every celebrity, and every person who's ever equated a designer bag with self-worth. Because the moment rumors began swirling that Cardi's Birkins weren't real, or worse, were made in China instead of handcrafted in France, the internet went full detective, and TikTok turned into CSI, Fashion Edition, dragging in tanner leather stain, viral videos from Chinese factory workers, old Hermes press releases, and every designer bag owner who ever flexed for the gram. And Cardi, already fresh off her public split with Offset and a crumbling rebound with Stefon Diggs, who reportedly said her BBL looked good but smelled bad, wasn't ready for the internet to dissect her luxury collection like a Thanksgiving turkey. But that's exactly what happened, because when TikTok factory workers started posting behind-the-scenes videos claiming they were the real artisans behind Birkin bags, showing step-by-step tutorials, invoices, and cost breakdowns that suggested the bags cost $400 to make, but were selling for $25,000 or more, the internet didn't just panic, it imploded. And suddenly, it wasn't just Cardi being exposed, it was the entire luxury industry. And while Hermes scrambled to defend their reputation, insisting their bags are made by single artisans in France with leather from their own crocodile farms, the damage was already done because the receipts were out, the emotions were high, and the self-worth of millions of luxury-loving consumers was hanging by a monogrammed thread, and celebrities made it worse because instead of staying silent or offering thoughtful statements, they made it painfully obvious that they cared more about their public image than the actual controversy. With Kim Kardashian dropping a cold, robotic, "That's not true," Kylie Jenner tossing out a lazy, "This is crazy," Zendaya stepping out of character just long enough to offer vague concern, Bella Hadid trying and failing to sound deep, and Naomi Campbell going full Naomi, talking about disrespect to the craftsmanship like someone insulted her ancestors. And while the celebrities fumbled their responses, the real voice of reason, or chaos, came from Tanner Leatherstain, the viral guy known for cutting open designer bags and rating them like they're sandwich meat. And when people blamed him for starting the Made in China rumor, he snapped back and said, "I just tell you whether it's luxury or lunch, bag," and kept slicing. But the momentum had already shifted, because people were no longer focused on who started it. They were focused on what it revealed, and what it revealed hurt, because for years, luxury bags were sold to us as the peak of quality, status, and elegance, something handcrafted with love, not stitched under fluorescent lights in a factory thousands of miles away from Paris. And for people who saved for years, skipped vacations, worked overtime, and sacrificed just to buy one designer piece, they felt played, lied to, and used. And that's when the emotional spiral began, with TikTok flooded by users crying into their Fendi scarves, whispering, "I just can't believe it," and clutching their bags like broken promises, because symbolic consumption is real. Y'all, we don't just buy things to carry stuff, we buy them to carry our dreams, our identity, our social status. And when that status turns out to be built on a lie, it doesn't feel like you lost money, it feels like you lost yourself. And that's what happened to Cardi, and to the thousands of others who saw their luxury flex exposed as fantasy. And the reactions came in stages. First denial, "Mine's real," "I bought it at the boutique," then anger, "How dare they fake this?" Then depression, "I spent how much?" And then bargaining, "Maybe it's still worth it if it makes me feel rich." And finally, some reached acceptance, realizing they weren't paying for quality. They were paying for exclusivity, for the dream. And that dream just popped like a Chanel button under pressure. And to make matters even messier, this all happened against the backdrop of a tense political moment. Because the US-China trade war had already strained global relationships. And when tariffs hit, factories in China lost major business. So some workers started leaking private information not to seek justice, but to get revenge, saying, "You tax us, we expose you." And suddenly luxury fashion got caught in a geopolitical scandal. And once that box was opened, it couldn't be closed. Because now the conversation wasn't just about whether bags were real or fake, it was about what we value, what we buy into, and how much of our identity we're willing to outsource to brand names and logos. And let's be honest, Hermes doesn't care if you buy a fake Birkin or roast them online. Because whether you're flexing or fuming, you're still keeping their name hot. And in the luxury game, attention is currency, and desire is power. And as long as people still want Birkins, Hermes wins, even if you're dragging them. And that's why this scandal is so fascinating, because it pulls the curtain back on the entire system, revealing that luxury is less about craftsmanship and more about belief, perception, performance, and psychological manipulation. and that hurts. People who thought they were buying quality, who believed their 20K bag was sewn by candlelight by French grandmas on a vineyard, only to find out it might have been stitched beside a knockoff in Shenzhen for pennies. And the emotional fallout is real, because once you start questioning your bag, you start questioning everything: your car, your shoes, your house, your worth. And you realize how much of your identity was built on flexing to people who never even noticed. And that's why TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter are flooded with emotional reactions. Some users defending their bags like it's a custody battle, others laughing through the tears, and a few just quietly deleting posts and disappearing from luxury flex culture altogether. Because when the mask slips and the illusion cracks, not everyone knows how to handle it. But here's the thing. This moment, this scandal, this collective panic attack, it's a turning point, a wake-up call, a chance for consumers to rethink what they value, what they want to spend money on, and how much of their soul they're willing to sell for a brand name. And for Cardi B, this couldn't have come at a worse time, because her public image is already hanging by a thread. Between the messy Offset drama, the Stefon Diggs embarrassment, and now this Birkengate, her credibility is in freefall, and people are wondering if the Cardi brand was ever real to begin with, or if it was always just loud music, louder outfits, and the loudest bags money could buy. And as she lashes out online, posting emotional videos, threatening haters, and flexing receipts, it only makes the situation worse, because the more she screams it's real, the more people question why she's screaming. And if this whole scandal proves anything, it's that silence is power, mystery is luxury, and sometimes saying less says more, but Cardi doesn't do less. And now she's paying the price. And while the luxury brands scramble behind the scenes trying to fix the PR mess, release vague statements, and distract with new collections, consumers are watching closely, many for the first time, and the conversation is shifting from blind adoration to critical thinking, from "I want that bag" to "Who made that bag and how much were they paid?" And that's the real revolution. Because while luxury might survive this moment, it won't survive if people stop believing in the dream. And dreams die fast on the internet, especially when TikTok gets involved. And right now, the dream of exclusivity, the illusion of superiority through handbags, is cracking under the weight of truth, receipts, and too many questions. And maybe that's a good thing. Maybe it's time we stop letting accessories dictate our worth, stop letting labels define our value, and start asking why we're so desperate to impress strangers with stuff we can barely afford. And that's the part no one wants to admit, that half the people flexing Birkins don't even like the bag. They like what it represents, what it signals. And that's why this scandal hits so hard. Because it didn't just expose the brands, it exposed us. And if you're feeling personally attacked by this video, good. That means it's working, because the goal isn't to shame you. It's to wake you up, to shake you out of the trance, and to remind you that you are not your purse. You are not your shoes. You are not the receipt you posted on IG. And if that hurts, then it's time to reflect, because real confidence